Series 3 of the Healthy Aging podcast, and we're talking all about exercise. This is one of my favourite subjects. My name is Susie. I'm joined with my co-host Lorraine. We've got yet again another really incredible guest who's excited to share with us. And so, Lorraine, I am going to hand over to you to do a quick introduction of our wonderful guest today.
Okay, thank you so much. So as we record this podcast, actually a really wet, pretty dark day here in Scotland, but let me assure you that this guest is going to bring the sunshine to the podcast. She has an absolute ball of energy, and just as I say, walking, talking sunshine. Today we're going to be speaking with Siobhan Kavanagh. She is the owner of two very, very successful Curves gyms. Curves is a women's only gym, and that is one of Siobhan's absolute passions, about empowering and inspiring women, and she does such an amazing job. So Siobhan, we're really excited to have you here today.
Oh, thank you so much.
Susie, could you just get us started by asking Siobhan the question that we always like to kick our podcast off with?
Of course, Lorraine. Siobhan, it's brilliant to have you on the podcast. I've not had the pleasure of meeting you until today, but I've heard so many phenomenal things about you over the years of working alongside Lorraine. Lorraine speaks very, very highly of you, so we're really honoured to have you on the podcast and excited for you to share all of Siobhan's knowledge. So Siobhan, we always start by asking the same question, which is, what would you say are your 3 top tips for healthy aging?
Oh, well, to be honest with you, because I am in the fitness industry, it always has taken a start off with fitness, of course, or health. Because I think that there's a wee bit of difference between fitness and health. And what I would say for me is, when it comes to fitness and healthy aging, it is so important to love what you do when it comes to fitness. I think that it can be something like, as I said, I work with women. Well, I always work with women, and what can naturally happen with women is they fall into this pattern of exercise is something that they need to do. It's not something that they necessarily want to do or enjoy doing. So I think one of the top tips for me would be enjoy what you do. Otherwise you won't keep doing it. It's so important to enjoy what you're doing. And I think with that, if you are enjoying the company that you're in, you're enjoying the exercise you're doing and how it makes you feel, you want to continue doing that forever. And that's the most important thing when it comes to health and fitness, is being able to do something that is going to be a consistent or a constant in your life. Would you not agree?
Oh, absolutely. And we talk about this a lot, Lorraine, don't we, about the difference between health and fitness. You know, a lot of people think that if they're fit, they're healthy, and it's not necessarily the case. So I love it when we speak to someone in the fitness industry that talks about the importance of, is it health, is it fitness, or is it a combination? So brilliant. Thank you so much, Siobhan. And then what would tip number 2 be?
I would say strength training is a big one of them. Strength training for women, it is my absolute passion. That is what Curves is all about. It's empowering and strengthening women to be the best possible versions of themselves through the Curves workout, which combines strength training, cardio and flexibility. However, I think that probably historically in the past, maybe not so latterly, strength training is probably something that's been shied away from with women because of fear of becoming bulky or muscular. And if women actually knew how much it took to get to that stage, the worry wouldn't be there, would it? It really, really wouldn't. So for strength training, I really, really do believe that probably over lockdown, I think that there's been probably quite a big change in the way women kind of perceive strength training. I think there's a lot in social media that you see that women are, you're being promoted towards doing strength training rather than it just being cardiovascular all of the time. And I think there's pros and there's probably some cons in that as well. So your pros being all the really amazing health benefits to strength training, and then the cons being probably an unrealistic expectation of body image. And I think that that's something that within the industry that we work in, it can be something that can be an expectation. If a woman comes in and she does strength training, she expects her body to look a certain way. And I do believe as we start to get older, that it's not all about aesthetics, it's about health. And I think if we can start focusing on letting women know all the health benefits that come from strength training, it's great to have a great body. We know it's great to have a nice body, but being strong is more important to me than having abs, tight booty, all of that kind of thing. And I'm sure you girls will agree. Like, I think you get to a certain point in your life where, yeah, it is nice to have a nice body and a nice shape, but being strong is a bit more important.
Yeah.
I
want both.
Aye, of course.
I'm
definitely. Yeah, definitely. So I think like, yeah, right. See if you can combine both of them. Absolutely onto a winner. You definitely are. You're absolutely onto a winner. But I absolutely love it when women come into the gym and they start training with me, or with any gym, not just with me, and they start to notice the differences in what their bodies can do. I think that probably in times gone by, women really always focused on being cardiovascular based fitness, where they would kill themselves for hours on a treadmill to burn all of the calories, and they were just exhausted. And I mean, like, don't get me wrong, I know loads of people love cardiovascular exercise and it's brilliant, it's great. Like, I love running, I love being like physically active. But I think when it comes to strength training for women, it's probably one of those big, massive missing links for a lot of people. What I would probably say is, when it comes to strength training, there are so many different benefits as you start getting a bit older, whether it be becoming stronger, being more mobile, your joints being stronger because you can hold yourself differently. Weight control is a massive thing when it comes to strength training, like being able to maintain a healthy weight, a healthy body, because you have more muscle. Have you found that when you do strength training, you notice a difference in your metabolism, or with any of your clients that you've worked with?
Yeah, like, absolutely. So I wouldn't work with clients, Siobhan. I own a CrossFit, but I'm not a trainer. So I own the gym. No problem at all. I own the gym with Brenda, my business partner, and she's the coach. So she's the one that would be working with people. But me personally, I do work out. I'm nowhere near the fitness levels of a coach, and that's okay. I love it for, just for how it makes me feel. And it's really interesting. I'm just going back to something else that you said about body image and stuff. I think even people that did initially maybe do strength training with that as a goal, I would say that once they started to get into it and felt the benefits of how they feel, of their strength, that maybe their goal would actually change. And, it would be very much about how it made them feel, because I love how I feel when I do my strength training. And definitely in terms of metabolism, I definitely eat more, but I eat healthier, because I want to be aware of what I'm putting into my body, and I want to ensure that I'm eating the right things to keep me strong, or to allow me to lift that bar, or whatever it be. Whereas before, I've always been into fitness, but it would be very much cardiovascular based. Yeah. And I wasn't that bothered about food, really. It was like, I just ate healthy. I would never, ever think about like tracking my macros, or am I putting enough protein in me? Never think like that. Whereas because of these podcasts and because of the people that Lorraine and I have met, I've definitely got a much more awareness of the importance of food groups and what I should be eating and stuff. So,
without a doubt. Yeah, without a doubt. I think that kind of fits quite comfortably into your next point about nutrition. Like, nutrition is like, see, when it comes to growing old, or not growing old, that's not the way I meant to put it. As you get older, it is so important to have your nutrition in place. You know yourself, like, if you're eating the right balance of foods, you're going to have more energy, you're going to put less stress in your body, your bones are going to be stronger, you're going to feel better, you're going to sleep better when you put adequate nutrition into your body. So nutrition is absolutely on top of the line, but it isn't something that I wanted to kind of massively tap into today, because I do believe there's a couple of other things on the top of my kind of radar, and your nutrition is massive when it comes to healthy aging. Of course it is, but I think when it comes down to fitness, I think there's definitely another couple of things on the edge that I would love to get to speak about as well.
Well, come on then, share then.
Tell us.
Do you know one of the biggest things that I come across in the gym, and see, honestly, like, see, when I say this to you, I genuinely, if I had a pound for the time, like, for the amount of times people said this to me, I would be a million there 10 times over. I wish I had started years ago. Right, see, that happens to me every day in life. And the best bit of advice I can give you is start right now. Like, you need to start right now. You don't need to wait until you've lost weight to go to the gym. Like, that's the maddest thing I've ever heard in my whole entire life. You don't need to wait until you look a certain way, you feel a certain way. You go to the gym for so many different reasons. And I come up against this barrier time and time again within the industry that I work in. I would say, like, my target market is probably women from about 35. I think my oldest member at one point was 90, which is like, wow, incredible, amazing. But I think that the thing that I come across is people saying, I just wish I'd done this years ago, because see, if I'd have known how this could make me feel, not how it made me look, how it made me feel, I would have taken this up forever ago. And I think that that's something that, see, if you could give people a wee taste of how that felt, they would never not exercise. They would never not keep fit.
I think that has got a lot to do with the environment that you've created within the gym that you own, the gyms that you own. I do, and the same with CrossFit. I'm not just saying this to, like, because I've got a CrossFit person and a curves person here, but I genuinely do think, as a novice exerciser and somebody that would be nervous going into, like, a normal gym, I do think the culture that you've created within your businesses does make that a lot easier. And I think that, you know, it's interesting that you say the age range of your target market, like, obviously maybe not all the way up to 90 is your target, but, you know, the fact that maybe 35 plus, I think that you know, the perception of what fitness is changing. Like, I know in my 20s, like, it was going to the gym, like, on the like the treadmill and, like, all the cardio machinery and stuff, and, like, that was just my idea of absolute hell. And I always did do things. We've talked about this, like, before, like, times being nervous before I've climbed goat fell tons of times, but because I enjoyed it and because I wasn't, like, sweating buckets and, like, you know, all of this stuff, it never really felt like I was exercising when actually, of course it was, but to me it. So, you know, I think give yourself some credit for the fact that you are creating a gym and a culture where women really can walk into it and feel comfortable and not be judged and all of the things that you've said. So well done.
Thank you so much. And I do, like, it's actually something that I'd noted down earlier on, was I know that CrossFit and curves are probably at completely different ends of the spectrum, but I do believe that the community aspect that we create in both of them is something that is just, it's one of the reasons why it is so successful, because people crave to be part of something at every age. You want to be part of a community. And I think, you know, as we get older, probably, again, historically with women, you can sometimes lose touch with you, and it's all about your friends, your family, your kids, your job, everything else, and then it's you at the bottom of the pile. So when you start getting involved in something where it is just all about you, for whether you're half an hour or your workout of the day or whatever it is, and it's just you, it actually brings a kind of sense of you being important again. And I think that as we get older, it's so important for us to be important. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
I think you also said a key thing though, Siobhan, when you said about the fact that it's important for you to find what it is that you love to do. And it doesn't matter if it's CrossFit, if it's curves, if it's out walking one of the bends, if it's out on your bike, if it's going to pure gym, it doesn't matter. It matters that it works for you. And that is definitely the key thing. Like, definitely, I would say CrossFit, curves are very, very community-based gyms. Some people just don't want that. They have already in their life a really big community when they're at work, and actually when they leave their work, what they want to do is get into the gym, do an hour completely by themselves. The last thing they want is to have to say hello to people, and so they find the right thing for them, and there's no right or wrong with that. It is finding the right thing. But Lorraine, people probably don't know that actually you have worked for both Curves and for CrossFit. And you've been able to use what the experience of both of those, working for both of those companies and understanding the importance of community. And is that something that you've heard people say with working in both those roles, that, oh my gosh, I wish we'd started sooner? Because Siobhan, we hear it all the time at CrossFit. Did you used to hear that as well, Lorraine, with these two?
Yeah. And I do think it's the thing, and you're right, Susie, of course, like there is, you know, there's something to suit everyone. The person that wants to leave the office, put their headphones in and go and like work out for an hour and not speak to anyone. We know that like there is things to be catered for everywhere. But I think that, you know, what's the reason that people don't step out of that zone of like feeling really uncomfortable going a run or whatever it might be, like, is just because that is just like too far a stretch for them. So they would never wish they started that earlier. But they would wish they started, like, they found CrossFit earlier or something like that. I think it's probably that they wish they found the thing for them earlier. So maybe that's the thing that people need to challenge themselves with, is just finding the thing that works for them. And then
yeah, I totally agree. And I think, like, see what you said there, it's not one size fits all when it comes to fitness. It really, really isn't. And it's not one size fits all. Just because you loved something when in your 20s doesn't mean that's for you in your 30s or your 40s or your 50s. Everything's interchangeable. And it's knowing that and knowing that that's okay. Like, I think that's a big thing. A big thing that we come across quite a lot is a lot of people give themselves quite a hard time because they're not able to do what they were able to do at a younger age. But our bodies are so different at different stages in our life. Bloody hell, women's bodies are different at different stages of the month. Like, and again, that's like, that kind of leads me into another part of what I was going to speak about when it comes to aging, like aging well and aging within fitness, is your hormone levels. Like, Jesus, the elephant in the room. Like, people just don't speak about it enough. And it's so important. Like, we've recently teamed up with the Menopause experts, which is absolutely amazing. The training's phenomenal. I tell you what, it's a bit terrifying once you look at it. I'll be honest with you, but half the population of the planet is female, and this is not being spoken about enough when it comes to fit in any industry. It's not being spoken about enough, and I think it's really important that we start kind of blowing the roof off of this. You'll see that you're getting lots of like celebrity endorsements and stuff when it comes to talking about women's health and the menopause. Like, Davina is a massive advocate for that just now. She's smashing it, isn't she?
Yeah. I mean, she absolutely is. And look at her, you know, not that it's about looks or anything like that, but it's the fact that she's out there, she's talking about it. And she's also talking about how hard it is some days to like keep her fitness levels, or, you know, depending on how she's feeling. Like, any conversation around it, I think, is absolutely brilliant. And we had Kirsty Wilson on, that is her, like, you know, that's what she does, is she works with women and that kind of phase and going through the menopause. And just like, you know, I'm in my 40s, as is Susie. None of us are like feel perimenopausal or have any symptoms and anything. But man, I feel so much better about it after having that conversation and getting that knowledge from Kirsty of, like, you know, what might come, like how you might feel, all of those types of things. Like, it was just amazing. And you're absolutely right. We should be talking about it a lot more than we do.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. And I think that it's something that I feel quite strongly about when it comes to, I know that we're talking about healthy aging, but see, from a grassroots level, see if girls knew about how their hormones were going to affect every stage of their life. I think that if we could get that into schools, if we could teach that as our sex education or whatever it would be, I think it would just empower us as young females to actually know our bodies a wee bit more.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that it would be amazing to be able to champion, is taking that kind of thing into schools. And I mean, if you think about when you work out? Like, what would be your go-to if you were working out?
So I love walking, as you know.
Yeah. See you out and about.
The time, and we've just, Susie and I have started just 5 minutes of strength training every day. It's Dr. Chatterjee, one of his books, he talks about just committing 5 minutes over 3 different kind of things, commit to it every single day. And if you understand, if you've done something negative, like went out and smoked cigarettes for 5 minutes constantly, over time that would have a negative effect. So if you flip and do something positive, it's the exact same. Like, it's still worth doing it, even though it's just. So I've been doing that and absolutely loving doing that as well. And we were saying last week how it's amazing how quickly you feel stronger.
Yeah.
Doing like even 5 minutes a day of strength training.
Yeah. It's just consistency. That's like, it's being consistent with something. That's like that's the biggest thing. I think in all of our lives and everything that we do, it's the consistency factor that sometimes trips you up. But I think like the kind of point I was going to try and get to there was, see, when you do your when you're working out, I know that, Susie, you run, is that right?
Yeah, I do. I've got a running goal at the moment. I do yoga every day, like maybe 20 minutes of yoga every day. And once I achieve my running goal, I then have some CrossFit goals. So I'll ease down on the running and then I'll start to do more CrossFit. Yeah.
And would you say, like, see, during the time that you're training, would you take into consideration like what point in your cycle you're in at all for like your running, tapering, your running, any of those types of things?
Nope, not at all.
Okay. It's definitely something that I advise my members on, because like in the first couple of weeks of your cycle, when you're going through like your follicular phase, day 1 to 14, you're feeling most at yourself. You feel strong, you feel energized, you feel like your appetite's a wee bit less. Woohoo! Which is really nice, but you feel like you've loads of energy, you're sleeping quite well, and you're probably achieving like personal bests, all of that kind of stuff. And then as you start going into the latter half of your cycle, you start feeling a little bit more fatigued, a bit more tired, you need a bit more rest. Your metabolism is actually a bit higher because of the processes that you're going through in your body, which means you're hungrier, which means, you know, when it gets to that time in the month and you feel hungry, or you think it's just you need chocolate or whatever it is, it's actually because your metabolism's going a little bit faster. So I can attempt to let our members know that, see, at certain points of your cycle, it's important to tailor your training to that. If you do 5 days a week, drop it down to 3. Instead of going a run, go for a walk. See what feels best for you in the first 2 weeks of your cycle. Absolutely go for it, hell for leather. Then chill out for a couple of weeks. You don't need to be going at the wall really, really hard all of the time. And I think that that's something that would be amazing if women could really take into consideration, rather than giving themselves a hard time for not getting a personal best on week 3 of the cycle. It's crazy. It really, really is.
I mean, even if they still want to work out really hard, like, it's just having that in the back of your mind, like, right, okay, I might not get as good a time as I got last week, but I know it could be because of this.
Yeah.
Some people, oh well, I'm getting worse instead of better.
Yes, exactly.
Like, I feel worse in this time than I did a few weeks ago. So, but it's just crazy. Like, this is how our bodies work. This is like, you know, for however many, like, hundreds of years, this is how bodies work. How do you get to 42 and only be finding out information like this? Like, and you've all these years as an adult, and like all the thoughts and hard times that you've given yourself. Like, how do we get to this point and we don't know this stuff? It's just, I hope you do champion it, Siobhan, and you do.
Thank you.
To as many people as possible, because this is what people should be learning, definitely.
Yeah, it's so important. I was going
to say that, Lorraine, that the reason we don't know it is for the exact reasons why Siobhan's saying, because it's not being taught, you know. And like, I remember when my mum went through the menopause, you know, people, well, I think this still happens. I don't know if you've heard of this, Siobhan, but my mum was diagnosed as having ME, chronic fatigue syndrome.
Yes.
And actually, there's a lot of symptoms that are very similar to menopause and chronic fatigue. And it's not unusual for women to be diagnosed with chronic fatigue when actually they're going through the menopause.
Yeah.
And vice versa. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, so it's really interesting. I remember people thinking my mum was crazy, and because menopause didn't get spoken about then, at least like you were saying, you have people like Davina McCall, etc., who are now talking about it. We're certainly coming across lots more people, Lorraine, aren't we, that are talking about it. And, you know, just like what you're saying, Siobhan, I would never, ever, 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 ever think, right, where am I on my cycle just now? What should I do fitness-wise? That wouldn't even enter my head.
Wow.
Crazy.
It is. It really, really is. I think that, see what you just touched on there about your mum. I've actually got a coach who we've recently taken on in one of my clubs. She is 51. And she won't mind me talking about this. She speaks about it all the time pretty openly. And she has fibro. And they basically thought that like her pain, everything that she was going through, her fatigue, brain fog, all that kind of stuff was fibro. And they have now got her on HRT patches, and she's like a new woman. So she is. So like the brain fog's gone, our pain's gone, our energy levels are up. And she thought that this was because of her fibro, and it's actually because our estrogen levels are out of whack.
Yeah.
And it's something that she had to battle for.
Crazy.
And that's like, I think like that's absolutely diabolical that half of the world's population would have to battle to be able to find what's going to work for them, just because their body's changing, they're going through different hormonal imbalances. And I think it's honestly, it makes me a wee bit sad sometimes, because I see people coming in to the gym and see how much it affects them. And then when you actually have the discussion, it's almost like a bing moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I spoke to someone very recently, and she was going through this on her own, hadn't told anybody in her family that she was going through this, and she was at absolute breaking point. And I mean that in every sense of the word, breaking point. And see, by just having an open discussion and being able to normalise what she felt, just us discussing it and me feeding back some information to her, it actually made her realise that actually I'm totally normal here. I'm going to go and speak to these people about this. And honestly, within the past 4 weeks, this is like a new lady. No changes, no medication, nothing. Just being able to say, I'm not mental. Like, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And I think that being able to potentially go somewhere or go to a gym or a community, or even go to your nurse and be helped, I think is so, so, so important. And I think that that's probably why a lot of women like to speak to women when it comes to the fitness industry. And it's not to do with men don't know. That's not what I'm saying. It's not that at all. But I think it's maybe a bit more comfortable.
Yeah.
I think it's like a little bit more comfortable. So yeah, that's something that your hormones is something definitely that you need to take into consideration in every stage of your life, not just as we start to get a little bit older when it comes to fitness. I know personally, like I get on to week 4 and I'm like of my cycle, and I'm like, I'm not lifting a weight. I feel weak, I feel tired, I'm going to get my steps in, because I know it frustrates me if I can't lift the same, or if I feel more fatigued. I just take a bit more rest, get my steps in, enjoy a little bit more grub. Happy days. That's it.
Love it.
Yeah, definitely. And that's like another wee thing, and just a wee fact for anybody that's listening, like see that whole, like that phase in your cycle, like your luteal phase, you can burn between 100 and some women 400, between 100 and 400 extra calories a day, right? Just by going through that process. Now, if you can put that into practice when it comes to, say, for instance, you're trying to lose weight, you can allow for that kind of thing at a couple of stages in the month. It means that you're not going to go way off track, you know? Like, I mean, we've all been there. We've like tanned a bar of chocolate the same size as our heads. Like, I'm pretty sure, yeah, I'm on here.
No, definitely not.
Totally on your own. Totally on your own. Don't know what you're talking about, Siobhan.
You too. But that's why, see, if you just know that information, you can go, right, okay, do you know what, I can have an extra meal today and I'll be jamming, like so it's just about just knowing the information. It really is. It's just about getting it out there. And do you know what, anybody that's listening to this, you guys speaking to anybody, please tell everybody, because it's so important that we share this with all the women in our life. It really is.
I remember reading somewhere, Siobhan, and like we don't listen, everybody's got their own choices in how they want to do things, but like Lorraine and I, we're not massive on the scale. Like we don't agree or like people standing on a scale. And we had Andrea McIntosh on the other day, and her one tip was ditch the scales.
Okay.
But the reality is a lot of people still want to work on the scale. It's what they're conditioned to believe, and we're not going to change that about them, and that's absolutely grand if we're not going to change that about them. But I do remember reading something that if you're going to jump on a scale and you're looking to lose weight, then it's really, really important as a female that if you jump on the scale, you then jump back on it 28 days later, so that you're at the exact same place. And your cycle, because females hold and release water so much, that literally you can go onto a scale and then a week later it can change so drastically just because of water and hormones and everything, that it's really, really important to measure yourself 28 days later. So that's just another... We didn't talk about that on this podcast, did we, Lorraine?
We did. I think it came up last week, actually. About it. It was, is it James Smith? PT?
Okay. Right.
No, I completely agree. I think that there's so many variables when it comes to going on the scales, and there's so many different ways to measure success when it comes to fitness and health, and what one person's measure of success is completely different to another. Like a lot of women come, they want to get strong, they want to get fit, they want to change their body shape, they want to prevent arthritis, they want to prevent metabolic syndromes or help with metabolic syndromes. There are so many different reasons that women come, and the scale measures but one of them on like a bit of a rolling scale, if you will. It's not always accurate. I mean, see, to be fair, you could go on the scales in the morning and you're half a stone heavier by the time you go to the scales at night. So it has its place. I do believe everything has its place, so I'm not writing that off. But there are loads and loads of different other measures of success. There really are. And the feelings are the biggest one, I would say. Do you feel good? Do you feel good? That's so important, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think Andrea said something last week that was really good, which was about ditching the scales, and it was like they have their place, but they don't measure anything when it comes to health.
No.
Of course, that and like all of that stuff, we know all of that, but I just thought, gosh, that is so true. Like being like you having that as the only thing that you're focused on, like it's not a health measurement, it's what weight you are today.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you know what's funny? It's really funny that you say that. When we came back out of lockdown, you weren't allowed to touch anybody. Do you remember? Like, we do something called like Success Week, our weigh and measure week in the club for our members that want to be measured, and we weren't able to do that with them. The only thing that we were able to measure was their weight, right? So that's for members who want to get weight loss results, or they want to get inch loss results. We do that at the beginning of the month. Every member that wants to do it comes in and they get their results. They sit with our coach and we set them new goals, all of that kind of stuff. But see the difference in the energy in the club when we were only able to put them on the scales. That was so different because you couldn't see the changes, like they couldn't see the changes in their body because we weren't measuring them, we weren't looking at their body fat percentage, we weren't taking their pictures, and see the effect that has on women. Like you can stand on a set of scales and it makes you feel good or it makes you feel bad. Like see a wee number, how can we have that makes us feel a certain way? It's somebody going like that to you in the morning, you look great or you look crap. Like, and that is something we speak very, very openly about. It's a measure, one small measure. There are so many other ways to do it. There's so many other ways to do it. And I think it's so important. We talk about gratitude a lot, like in the clubs, and like at the end of our sessions, we talk about the things in our body that we're grateful for. And I think like that, you need to be focusing on all of that good stuff. Definitely. I know, like, I am so grateful for my body every day. Like, and you guys will probably be the same.
Yeah, it is, and it's like I'm glad you brought that up because that's one of the things I just wanted to speak about as well, is your mindset, because I know that you attribute a lot of kind of where you are today and the things you've been able to achieve, and then the way you've been able to help other people and passing that knowledge down is all has been the work that you've done on your own mindset as well.
Yeah.
And great to hear that you're passing that knowledge on and taking it into the clubs as well.
Oh, thank you. I do find that mindset it's a minefield, but it really, really is. It's a massive contributing factor to all of our successes, like not just individually, but everybody's success. We recently did something called Mind, Body and Nutrition Challenge, and the mindset part, it was really quite it got quite deep with a lot of our members, brought up quite a lot of things that they probably weren't aware of. And I think that, see, when you change your awareness to the way you act, the things you say about your body, like, I think it can be, what's the word I'm looking for? It can be pretty overwhelming for some people to actually realise just what they're saying about themselves on a daily basis. And I think being able to get people to actually realise that their bodies are amazing, their minds are amazing, and it might not be every day that everything is fantastic, but there is definitely always something in your life to be grateful for every day. There genuinely is. But yeah, mindset is absolutely massive. If I could give anybody one bit of advice, is just take a little bit of time every single morning or every single evening and just think about what you were either grateful for, like that day with something that's happened, or what you've already got in your life, being grateful for that, because you'll be able to find it. You just got to look, don't you?
There's so much to be grateful for, especially in our country. You know, it's like, I think we spoke about this before, Lorraine. I mean, we're in such a small minority percentage of the world that actually have like a roof over their head, clean water and food. And I mean, that alone is just like, it's so much to be grateful for. And definitely what we tell ourselves, I'm just reminding myself, like my mum, when she was like, my mum's 71 now, and she does brilliant for someone at 71. And when she was first diagnosed with ME, and when she finally accepted it, she started saying all the time, I enjoy being fit and healthy. And to this day, she still says it. She'll be out walking the dog and she's like, I enjoy being fit and healthy. And the other one that she says is, life is easy and joyful. She actually sings a little song when she's doing it. And we always laugh at her, but these are the two things that I remember my mum has been telling herself for 20 plus years.
Wow.
I enjoy being fit and healthy. Life is easy and joyful. And that's kind of how she lives her life, you know. So it is important that we listen to that. So thank you for bringing in about the mindset as well. And that's one of the things that we talk about with healthy aging. It's not just fitness, it's not just nutrition, it's not just mindset, it's a whole combination of things. And using that combination really does allow us to age well and be, you know, the person that's in their 90s that's still active. And like you said, you had a lady that was, I think you said in her 90s, that was coming to you, which is just incredible. Like, that's where we all want to be, isn't it? That's where I definitely want to be.
Without a doubt, definitely.
Absolutely.
I think that's just lovely that your mum's got those affirmations. Like, that is just phenomenal, honestly. And like, does she practice anything like that, like your mum?
Yeah.
So she's big into all of that. Amazing.
Absolutely. Which is hilarious, because again, 20 years ago, nobody knew about it. But I remember her coming home from work. So this must have been about 30 years ago, because she hasn't worked for easily 30 years. And I remember her coming home from work and she said, oh, we had this person in that was teaching us about positive mindset today. And I remember my dad laughing at her. And I remember everybody in her life almost like teasing her about it. And she got out this big book that they'd given her, and she was, you know, reading it. And back in the day, I remember Jack Black from Mind Store was a really big name, but it wasn't Jack that went in to see them. I don't remember who it was, but you know, and Jack Black is still really big in the personal development, but certainly in Scotland, he would have been the lead person, and he started it from a point of view about stress, and then he grew and he developed from there. And Jack still does some incredible work around the world, but he also talks about the importance of keeping ourselves young and fit and healthy. And yeah, Mum's done it for years, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why I became so interested.
Yeah.
And do you know something, Siobhan? She's had to do it because she's been so unwell for such a long period of time, and she has had a terrible childhood. So when you look at her past, you understand why she does these things to just allow her to get up every day and get on, you know. So Yeah, just amazing. So
she's living. Oops, living.
Little
proof.
doggy wanted to say hello.
Hello there. She's living, breathing proof, though, if she's had such a challenging time, being able to come back from that, and it's all to do with our mindset. And I remember from quite a young age, I was very lucky to have been surrounded by people, like when we worked for Curves, Lorraine, that was just absolutely amazing. Did loads and loads of things around mindset, about passion, about vision, and all of those kind of things. And I was 18 when I first started like working for Curves, and I will be forever grateful to the owner of the club at that time, how much he helped me when it came to my mindset. But I remember going home and me reading The Secret at 18 and everybody being like, what the hell are you talking about? You're off your nut. Like, oh yeah, you can just talk things into existence, can you? And I'm like, aye, I can. And I really, really remember that being a massive thing. And like, I remember I started doing Reiki actually. And I remember my brother being like, what? You're letting energy come through your hands. Come on. And now he talks about that quite a lot. And Disney Crit talked about it a lot. He spoke about it before. And I was like, do you remember when you used to slag me for all this stuff? And now it's cool, it's okay. Which makes me totally laugh. But I think that what you're saying about your mum, you live and you breathe it. And it just comes out of every bit of you. And people can see that and people can feel that. And I think that that's nice to be around, you know. And I think it's lovely. See if we can have that impression on one person and then they can have that impression on another person. It just spiders out. And I think that that's what we need. We need that in our life as we get older, don't we? Just a bit of joy. Joy.
Yeah.
Definitely, for sure.
Oh, so Susie, do you want to ask our wee final question or do you want me to do it?
Well, Siobhan, that's what I was wondering. We always think we want our listeners to get into action. There's no point just sitting listening to your podcast. We always give an action step, and that action step is like, what could they do today, right now, or tomorrow? No, today or right now, to what's the word I'm looking for? Influence how they age. What would be your one top tip for there? And maybe you've said it. Maybe it's the gratitude.
I think gratitude's great. I think that definitely take action on something that you have been putting off for a long time. I think that that's probably the most important thing. Like, we do this thing where we hold on to all of these things that we want to do in our life, and time is fragile. It's fragile, and you know, like, tomorrow is not, like, it's not a gift for everybody. So see if there is something that you want to do or something that you want to tick off your list, then put down your social media, turn off Netflix, create time in your day. You get 24 hours in the day. Every single one of us gets that gift every day until we don't. And see if you can just say, right, loads of people say, I don't have time to do this, and I don't have time to do that, and I don't have time to do this. Please check your phone and check your productivity in your phone. You're on social media for 3 hours. Take action on doing something that's going to make you feel better about yourself, about your health, about your well-being, about your stress levels. Sleep. Get some sleep. Honestly, I could talk a million years about that, but that's a story for another day, I would say. But that would be my main tip, that if there's something that you have been thinking about doing for a long time, take action and do it. Don't be afraid. You're not too old. You're never too old to take action. And that would be what I would say to anybody.
Oh, absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much. It's
been
on. And where can people find you, Siobhan, if people want to join one of your gyms or find you?
We are on social media, so we have Instagram and we have Facebook. So you've got Curves Paisley 2020 is the name of the page for Curves Paisley, and Curves Irvine is just Curves Irvine for both of them. You can find us on curves.eu also. You'll be able to get directed to the page there. But that would be that.
Brilliant. And we'll add all of that into our show notes as well, so people will be able to click on the links and get straight to you. So
amazing.
And so
now, Lorraine, I've also got a little link. It's a free hormone and menopause training for anybody in the world to join. I would love to share the link with you, and it means that you can give that to all of your listeners, and I think that it would be massively greatly received even. So I would love to be able to pass that on as well, because we need to tell everybody in the world.
Love it. Yeah, that's amazing. We will spread that far and wide and definitely get that message, get the message out there as far as we can.
Okay, so, amazing. Thank you
so much, and we will be back next week with another amazing guest.